Hey friends, today we're reviewing a Japanese watch. It's not just any Japanese watch. This is probably Seiko's hottest release of 2020, one of their most popular diver watches on the market right now, SPB143. In fact, it's so hot and so highly anticipated, or was so highly anticipated, that I made a video about a year ago talking about this release and talking about why this release is great. Check out that video, you'll get the full context behind my excitement of this release. Now that I have it in my hand, I've had this watch for about a week in my hands, what do I think? Did it live up to this standard, this pedestal that I built up this release to be? I'm going to answer those questions, but first let's talk about some of the basics of this watch. So the watch has a diameter of 40.5 millimeters, it's 47 millimeters from one lug to another, 13.8 millimeters thick, and it has a 20 millimeter lug opening. It's a very nice medium-sized diver watch. It looks great on my 7.5 inches wrist. Here's some wrist shots for you. It is also not overly thick. When you hear 13.8 millimeters thickness, you would think, oh my god, it's gonna be this giant watch on my wrist, but in fact it's not, because a lot of the thickness does come from a domed sapphire crystal. On the wrist, it kind of does a bit of a disappearing act, just like a lot of other Seikos. I'm happy to say that this one does wear really well. It is also a hefty watch. It has some weight to it. The minute you pick it up, when you hold it in your hand, it feels nice, it feels substantial, and on the wrist it also feels nice and it has a good wrist presence. It weighs about 111 grams on the supplied silicone strap. The finish, outstanding. You get brushed finish on top of the lugs and you get a bit of a chamfering here on the sides. It adds nice visual interest to the case and also gives Seiko a chance to show off a bit of their finishing. Screw down case back with a Tsunami Wave. This is of course a Pro Specs certified diver, 200 meters of water resistance, a screw down crown at the 3 o'clock position. The crown is not signed. Now I know one guy that is very disappointed with that, Jody. I'm sure he complained about it, but hey, the man's got a point. Seiko, why are you saving money on these crowns? Just sign the damn thing. I think most of watch enthusiasts would prefer a signed crown over an unsigned one. I am one of those people. It doesn't bother me too much, but I would prefer a signed crown. And even though Seiko cheaped out a little bit by not stamping their crown with their logo, the knurling on the crown, the grip is great, super easy to operate. There are no crown guards, it's just a freestanding crown giving you that vintage aesthetic, vintage vibe. Another part of the watch that actually gives you that vintage aesthetic is the bezel. So the bezel is actually not ceramic, it's not aluminum bezel, it is stainless steel that's been hardened by Seiko, and it does have this nice patina look with gilt writing and gilt indices. It's gonna be hate it or love it sort of situation. I happen to like it. It is reminiscent of the Tudor Black Bay 58. That watch also has that gilt writing, but I know a lot of people are not down with that faux patina look, and if you're not down with it, this watch is not for you because that patina look is very prominent. You can definitely see it. It's not like it's visible in certain lighting conditions. It's always visible. It's always sort of in your face. The faux patina look carries on to the dial. You have these applied indices, batons for all the hour markings. The cool part about these indices, they are applied and they are sort of three-dimensional. So actually the lume goes outside of the frame a little bit. It is layered and it looks really cool. Gives you nice viewing angles. The domed sapphire crystal also creates a bit of a vintage vibe and it adds to the variety of viewing angles. The handset, pretty simple, nicely finished, nothing really to brag over. We have a date at the 3 o'clock position and you can tell that this watch is the 2021 production model because it has lume pip by the date. So a bit of controversy here. I don't find it to be a big deal, but a lot of people on Reddit do. Of course they do. It's a watch industry and the internet is wild, man. Basically, when these watches came out, the first few batches didn't have that lume pip by the 3 o'clock position, but Pro Specs has changed their requirement for the professional diver watches, and now all professional diver watches require that lume pip by the date. Some people love it, some people hate it. I think most people would not even be able to tell the difference, but hey, if you're in the market for one of these watches, now you know, and now you know what to look out for. By the way, if you've heard Bon snoring throughout this whole video, I apologize about that. I just realized that he's sleeping right next to my desk and it is probably very loud and the microphone is probably picking that up. I moved him closer to the window. Hopefully it's not as bad. Now let's get back to reviewing this Seiko. It is powered by the Seiko in-house 6R35 automatic movement. It has 70 hours of power reserve. It beats at 21,600 vibrations per hour, has 24 joules, very reliable, accurate movement. I'm getting within 5 seconds per day, which is pretty good. I guess the question that's left to answer is, did this watch live up to the expectations that I had of it? I mean, the expectations are pretty high because this is an homage to 62 Mas, one of the most known and legendary diver watches ever. I like the size of it, I like the quality, it feels good. When you touch this watch, like everything looks and feels good. The bezel action is fantastic. That's just so smooth. And it feels good, it feels expensive. I like how the watch wears on the wrist, the size, they nailed it. The look, I really like it. I know that somebody might not like this vintage patina look. If you're not into the full patina look, they do have other models available like the SPB147. That one seems like to be the favorite of the internet. I really like that watch as well, but when I was looking at the two watches side by side, I prefer the look of this SPB147 over the SPB143. One of the big reasons why is the dial on this watch. It has a sunburst effect, and a lot of people were describing it as kind of this cappuccino color dial. To me, it looks like chocolate. The way I would describe this dial to somebody, it's a chocolate dial. Just the way it interacts with light, it's fantastic. Seiko really knows how to put a good dial together. I'm also happy to report I didn't find any quality control issues. Everything aligns properly. There is no backplay on the bezel. There are no specks of dust left on the dial. So for $1,000, you do feel like you're getting a $1,000 watch. So when you pay the higher price point for the SPB line, you do feel like you're buying a better quality watch over some of the more introductory Seiko divers. So all of that sounds great. Are there any negatives to the watch? Besides the unsigned crown, which doesn't bother me too much. I mean, it would be nice to have a signed crown, but it's not a deal breaker by any means. I don't really love the silicone strap. It doesn't feel as comfortable. I don't like the metal loop that they have on the bracelet. It kind of digs into my wrist. So I would definitely change this for a different strap or even get one of the aftermarket bracelets. And there are plenty of different options for these watches. Plus they have a 20mm lug width, so pretty much any strap would fit on this watch. So it is a negative, but it's not a huge deal. Other than that, I think the watch looks great, it wears great, it feels good. It does feel like a vintage inspired modern watch. It still has the drilled lug holes, it still has that design language of a vintage watch, but it feels very modern. It feels very new. It doesn't feel like a vintage watch that is made out of new parts. It feels like a modern watch that's made out of modern parts that has a bit of a callback to some of the vintage models, if that makes sense. So that's it. That's the review for this watch. I do want to mention that I borrowed this one from a local AD called Russell Jewelers. They sell all across Canada. They are great people. If you're looking for a Seiko watch, check them out. I'll leave a link to their website in the description below. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We release new videos every week. And leave a comment in the comment section below. Let me know what you think about this Seiko. Today on my wrist, I'm wearing my Omega Seamaster. I did a full review of this watch. That video can be found on the YouTube channel. I will also leave it linked in the description below. Also in the description below, there are a couple of other links. There is a link to bondnailstraps.com and there is a secret link. Have a look if you're curious. Thanks for watching this one. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you had fun, and I'll see you guys next time.